Hello and welcome to another tutorial on LaTeX for Java developers. In this tutorial, I'm going to continue our discussion on how to implement LaTeX environments in Java. And we said that an environment is any lines of code that start with a begin command with the name of environment, and then at the end it has to have a end command with the name of environment, right? And these are like the special type of commands that don't typically take an option in between the begin end and then the argument, which has to be the name of the environment, right? And then we looked at how to implement it in Java, and we said that we start with a simple idea that any environment has a name that identifies that environment, and we start with the environment class. And we let this environment class is fully customizable, so the user can basically create it from the scratch. And this is a very low level API, and obviously the goal is to inherit from this environment, for example, and create a figure environment, create a equation environment class, right? So we saw that the way this works is that we create an environment, give it the name of the environment. We can add options, and for the environments, the options go into a square brackets right after the begin command, right? So the options don't go after the begin; it goes after the argument of the begin, right? And then we said that at the lowest level we can just have a method to allows us to add any text in between the begin command and end command, and that helps us fully customize the environment. We can add anything. We can add a command that adds a label to this environment. Later on we can refer to it, or add a equation, type an equation itself. So this is a very low level API, and it's good to start from there then, because when we have we are able to fully customize it, then we can provide a higher level API based on this low level API, right? So we saw that this works. We can create a figure, and then if I go back to the environment, the problem here was that right now, if I try to, after I call the toString, if I try to add another option, fig, or maybe add another text, maybe something like, first of all, we said that add text doesn't add a doesn't go to the next line, so we have to manually add that. So let's say this is a text, and fig1, let's do a sysout fig1. And if we call the toString, it's not going to work properly. That's just because the end figure was already appended, so there is a little bit of mess up here. So the way we're going to fix it is we're going to remove this environment, and we're just going to create it right inside the toString, right, as a local variable. So we can use var, or we can just initialize it, string builder environment. Step one is the begin. So each time the toString is called, we build the environment from the scratch. I mean, that's the best way to do it. Add options. Step 3, add text, right? And then step 4, add end. End. So let's see if this fixes our problem here. Yes, we have the so let's see, add option, so begin figure label 1, and then end, and then begin figure label 1, this is a text, and end. Yeah, so this seems to work fine. So the first time we call the toString, it builds it with the, we added a backslash here. Maybe let's remove this backslash, and we can add it right here, backslash n. So this is the first time we build this environment. So figure, label, and end figure, right? And later on we add a new line. This is a text, and as you can see, adding this new line is manual, which is fine. Label, this is a text, and end. Now that we can build any type of environment, it's very easy to try to inherit from this environment and create different types of environment. For example, And again, the best practice would be here to make this add text probably protected, but I think it's good to keep it as public, so if the user really needs to add some weird command here, they have the ability to use this low-level add text API. All right, so what I'm going to do in the base class, I'm going to create a class called, for example, equation, and we already know that equation env, right? Equation environment, and then it's going to extend the environment, Java LaTeX for J, and then we have to call the super class, and then so let's see, we're not going to accept any argument. However, here we're going to say this is an equation environment. So the name is going to only be equation, and then everything else is for now is the same. In the equation we just add some text, so it's not going to be any different, so we can go and test it. So here public static void test3, so let's call test3 here. So here, instead of creating a environment, I create an equation environment, right? And the constructor doesn't accept anything because the name by default is equation. So equation1 add text, add text. So what we're going to say, we're just going to write the equation. Let's say we want to say beta is equals f of zeta, right? And again, the LaTeX command is \beta, but in Java we have to kind of escape it, like \, beta equals f of \, zeta, right? So I can also add a label to it, so later on I can refer to these. But if I do a sysout on equation1, run as, so we have this, right? So obviously if I put this equation inside my LaTeX inc, it's going to work just fine, right? So sometimes I don't know the exact command for a symbol or something. I just come in the LaTeX inc and play with it until I get it right. Or when it gets more complicated, like when you're trying to create a matrix, matrices are also inside an environment. It's called it's an environment, so you can have B matrix with a bracket matrix or P matrix, etc., right? And because now we have a fully operational environment, we can even implement the matrices, the command for matrices in a and then we add the entries using add text. So for this is equation environment, we can say that equation environment, most likely we want it to be numbered or not numbered, right? So by default, if we add this to a LaTeX document, it's going to be a numbered or display mode. If it's not a display mode, if we want it to be inline, so that's something that we can decide. And basically inline equations is basically the equation, but instead of creating a new environment, you put it inside these dollar signs, right? So you say, for example, beta is equals f of zeta, and that basically is that basically creates an inline equation, right? Not a display equation. And that's something that we can add to this equation environment as an option, right? So Boolean is inline by default is false. When we create an environment, when we create an equation environment, we want it to be in display mode by default. That's the definition of environment, right? But we can also override the toString method from the super class. So source override implement method from the environment, and then we are going to override this, and we're going to say that if is inline is if is inline, then we're going to do something else. Otherwise, we just call the superclass environment, and it actually creates the environment. So what are we going to do? If it's inline, we are going to get only, we don't add in the inline, we don't have any option, anything, right? Because the concept of the option only applies to the begin end commands, or basically the environment. If it's inline, we are going to say that we just add all the text and then put it inside the dollar sign. So we create a string builder, let's say sb equals new, or maybe environment, let's inv new string builder, all right? And then inv we just add the text, nothing else. So but then we have to be careful that obviously in the text there might be a label or any LaTeX command. So that's, for now we just leave it up to the user to make sure that they don't add any other commands, right? It's just a plain math equation. So we're going to say that for a string s in text, which comes from the superclass, environment.append s, right? And then we're not going to add a new line, but before that we have to add the dollar sign, and it's not a regex, so we can manually add it. And after we add all the text, we also add another dollar sign, and then we return env to a string. All right. And so we add also public void is inline, or set or inline boolean flag. This dot is inline is flag. So we can do this. So if I go back to the test environment, let's create a new test4. And in test4 we're going to create the environment, but then we're going to set the inline to true. And then now we hope to see only the line, no begin equation and end equation. We just hope to see the equation inside the dollar signs. All right. So let's go back to our let's try to create a full LaTeX document. So public static void test5. So this is a test of full LaTeX document, right? So the first thing we need is the template or document class. So var doc class is new command, and remember it was a command that has document class, and then the argument we're going to say it's an article, right? And the doc class add option I want to say it's 10 point or maybe 12, that's fine. And then var document environment, new environment, and let's call this document, right? This adds the begin and end. And then a string, let's also create a string builder, sb, or maybe let's just say tex file or tex doc is new string builder. And then I create my doc class and say tex doc append doc class, and it's going to automatically add the toString method on this. And then doc environment, right? Document environment. We're not adding any packages at the moment. We just want to create a document and then add it to the string builder. So at the end of the day, we might add some text to our document in between the begin document and end document. So at the moment, if I say tex doc dot append doc class, right? Or maybe this is just okay, sorry. So this doc class is going to go here, and then doc environment. And then if I do a csat on my text document, it's going to print just the begin document. So document class, begin document, and end document. We're not adding any packages, any preamble. We just want to add an equation. So full.tex file, right? We have to we shouldn't add the document environment immediately, because we have to first for the user to add all the stuff, and at the end we build the document, right, to get this entire document environment. So what do we want? We want to do add the equation, right? And then and it's not going to be inline, so let's just copy and paste this equation one betas. We're not going to do a sysout on it. Instead, so basically what we're not going to we're going to add the text, but then what we're going to do, we have to add it to the document environment, because eventually we have to build this entire document environment, right? So the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to the low-level API that we had, doc environment add text, right? And in the adding text, I just add equation one, and it automatically okay, it doesn't add the to a string on it, so I manually add call the to a string method on it. So let's run this. So document class, begin document, begin equation. Right now the indentation is not correct, so we can fix that. So let's go to the environment. We can add a flag here to see if we want to add a tab or not, or I can just manually add it. So after I basically add this equation, I can put a \t here, a tab. So if I run this, yeah, usually we add a tab here and then end document. All right, so that's the idea. And let's create a new folder here. Let's say tutorial_4 and create a plain file, tutorial4.tex tech, and let's copy and let's open it with our editor. All right, and then I'm going to open up a terminal here and then feed this to PDF LaTeX tutorial4, and LaTeX goes ahead and creates the PDF file for me. Right now I just have the equation, right? But then in my environment I can actually, so let's recap what we're doing. Eventually we're going to build the .tex file, .tex file, which is a raw plain text, right? And then in order to do that, we first issue a command to tell LaTeX what kind of template we might be using some packages, but at the end we have this environment which is begin document and end document, and we have to build it at the end, right? That's why when you append an object here to our string builder, which represents the text document, the text file, it calls the toString, and toString is basically builds the environment for us, right, as a text representation. And this docstring might include other environment like equation, figure, whatever. So we have to wait to call for this call to build the document environment at the end, right? full.tex file. And then we can manually use this low-level add text API to add whatever environment we want to add to our document environment. And then let's also, before adding this equation, I'm going to add some text. So doc environment add text, boom, 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 and we can take advantage of this multi-line a string that they added, I believe, in JDK 14. So this is just a simple text. Look at this equation which is in the display mode, and then we want to go to the new line, something like that. So let's build this one. So this is just a simple text. Look at this equation, which is in the display mode. I didn't really need to have this because when I go to the next line, it automatically adds the next line. Yeah, so let's now add this to our text file, and then let's build it. Okay, so for building, I'm going to take advantage of a feature that Eclipse has, and I think that's very good for you to know, is the external tools. So if you look at this a run button that has a suitcase, it's called the external tool. It's equivalent to the way we call this PDF LaTeX. Instead of typing it, I just want to click on this, and so let's create a new external tool and call it PDF LaTeX, right? And then you have to specify the binary where it is. So let's see where, let's close this, which PDF LaTeX. So it's in the, for me, it's in this location. So I'm going to copy this, go back to my external tool, and then PDF LaTeX, I'm going to specify this here, working directory. So where is the working directory? I guess for PDF LaTeX, working directory probably shouldn't matter that much. What is the argument? So we want to feed it the text file, right? I want to click on a text file and run this external tool. So I'm going to select these variables, and I'm going to give the absolute path to it. So it's going to be basically, when you want to give the absolute path, it's going to be a resource location. Returns the absolute file system path of a resource, right? So we select a text file, and it automatically feeds the absolute path. So we don't need to worry about where we're launching the PDF. We don't need to worry about this working directory. So if I apply and show command, do we need a working directory? Maybe I can just say resource location. Probably that's fine. Okay, let's okay, that's because we have to select something first, and then if I select this and then go to my external tool, PDF LaTeX, can I run this? PDF LaTeX, the working directory does not exist for external tool named okay, let's see. Maybe we can just set it to workspace location, and yeah, it works fine. So again, the nice thing here is that the outputs, when you use external tool, the way it does it, we can also go to build and uncheck this, because I'm using LaTeX and it doesn't have anything to do with Java, right? I don't want to build the workspace. Refresh resource upon completion, yeah, and then run again. And the beauty here is that the external tool is hooked up to the Eclipse's console, right? And allocate console, which is very nice. You can also save the output to the console to a file or something. And then, but now I can see it. I can just select the text file and then click on this PDF LaTeX, and then it automatically does the same thing that as I've been doing, right? It launches the PDF LaTeX, and the good thing is that it shows the output to the Eclipse console. So I'm going to use that from now on. It's easier for me to do. So let me show you one more time. So delete. So we select the text file. That's the resource, right? Anything that doesn't end with Java in Eclipse, it's a resource. And I gave it the resource location. Basically, it's the absolute path. So this is the actual terminal command. So it launches the PDF LaTeX, and then that's my text file, right? Now this might cause some problems later on when we try to add figures, but we'll figure it out when we get to that. Right now we're just selecting a text file. There is no figure or something, so we just run it, and it successfully runs. This is PDF LaTeX, and the output is hooked up to the Eclipse's console, so we see all the results. There is no error, so output return to tutorial 4. And it's going to refresh. Actually, okay, so I see what the problem is. So it's going to it writes the output to the working directory. So let me see if we can fix this working directory. Variable resource path returns the worker specimen of the resource. Maybe we can set this. So I guess there is some problem, but I'll leave it for the next tutorials. I hope you enjoyed this. So for now, the takeaway here is that, okay, maybe let me just run this in terminal one more time. That now that we have implemented the concept of environments, we've basically finished the skeleton of the tech document. So the next thing that we need to do, we need to start working on this LaTeX renderer that puts everything together and provides a higher level API for the user, and also it takes care of creating the .tex file, .tex file, and takes care of feeding it to the LaTeX and generating the PDF LaTeX. So PDF LaTeX tutorial 4.tex, yeah, okay, and then refresh, the PDF is generated, and as you can see, we have this text file, the equation is numbered, everything looks good. I hope you really enjoyed this lecture. Please stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.